So this is a very serious story because there are new claims that the White House is stalling the results of the Pentagon's investigation into Sergeant Bo Bergdahl. Lieutenant Colonel Tony Shaffer claims that Bergdahl is being pressured to agree to a plea deal and that would sort of make this whole thing just disappear under the radar. Now, last year, in a hugely controversial move, President Obama released 5 Taliban members from Gitmo in exchange for the release of Bo Bergdahl. The U.S. Army insists that no decision has been made on desertion charges. Bergdahl disappeared from Afghanistan in 2009 from his base, and many of the soldiers, several of whom we've spoken with here in America's Newsroom, say that he deserted the post, and they have no question about that, but the investigation is underway. So those freed Guantanamo Bay detainees, there they are, getting a hero's welcome, big hugs all around, lots of smiles after they arrived in Qatar last May, and they have to be there for 1 year. So you know what that means. They're about to be released this May. And on the day of Bo Bergdahl's release, President Obama brought Bergdahl's parents to the Rose Garden, touting the rescue mission, while a year later, we still don't know the real thing. Is he or is he not a deserter?
Sergeant Bergdahl has missed birthdays and holidays and the simple moments with family and friends, which all of us take for granted. But while Bo was gone, he was never forgotten.
Remember that? Lieutenant Colonel Tony Shaffer is a senior fellow with London Center for Policy and Research, and he joins me now. Colonel, good to have you here this morning. Welcome.
Morning. Thank you for having me. Good to be on.
All right. So you back in, just to clear this part up, back in March, right. You claimed that this would all be resolved in March and that the Army had found that he was a deserter. So what happened to that?
Well, the simple answer is that's exactly what my sources said, that the idea was to have this done by March so people could move on. The report, Martha, let me be very clear. The report concludes, and I've had multiple sources who have read this report conclude, General Dahl's report, who did the investigation, concludes that he did desert. That is a finding of the 15-6 investigation. So that's what's on the table. I think what they didn't count on necessarily, that is both the Pentagon and the White House, is that General Miley, the Forces Command commander, would take as much time as he has, and he has the right to take as much time as he wants. He's the commander. But with that, the fact he's taken so long to read through this linear foot of material, it now bumps up against the release of the Taliban. So I think everything I'm hearing now is they want this to go away as quietly as possible. They're putting pressure on Bergdahl's defense team. Bergdahl's defense team has said, hey, we gave critical information, critical intelligence up during the debriefing when Bergdahl returned. Senior Pentagon sources I've talked to, Martha, say it was not worth anything. It was useless, dated, and frankly, the details didn't give us anything we didn't already know. So that's where we're at right now.
Yeah, so let's back up here just for a moment.
Sure.
So obviously it would be embarrassing for the White House if they secured his release, and in exchange, it's not embarrassing if they secure his release. He's over there, they want to get him back.
Right.
But if all of that was separate, right, so he's over there, you want to get him back because that's what we do, then you open an investigation, you know, very upfront, did he or did he not desert like his the people that he was serving with claimed he did. But then it got complicated by the fact that in order to secure that release, 5 Taliban members were released, and a lot of people were very upset about that. And you claim that there were other options on the table, that the White House didn't need to resort to the release of these 5 Taliban members, one of whom has already tried to reach out to, his old cronies. What were some of those other options that the White House could have done?
I can't go into all the options. Some of them are still classified, but there were, besides this option, there were 3 others. They each had their own degree of complexity, each had their own degree of potential success or failure. So when you put it all in the big picture, I believe there are other options with like or better success likelihood than this one, without giving up 5 adversaries, 5 enemies, 2 of which were actually material supporters of the al-Qaeda folks in the 9/11 attacks. So this is where, and clearly, Martha, we still have troops in combat in Afghanistan. These guys are going to be going back to a rock star welcome and return to combat. So again, the president had much better options with less downside available to him.
But the president just said yesterday, in fact, in answer to a question, that if he could do something differently, he would have closed Gitmo on day 1. And he said, because we couldn't do that, we've had to do it basically through attrition over the years. So this provided, to get Bo Bergdahl home, provided an opportunity to get rid of 5 of them, to get them out of the place and get closer to his goal, correct?
I believe that is the political motivation behind this move. I mean, again, I have never heard in any modern war, Martha, where we've returned essentially the equivalent of Army four-star generals of the adversary to the adversary when we're in still contact with that enemy. This is unheard of, and frankly, as you said, I believe it's all about the political narrative. The president wanted to clear 5 of the worst detainees out of Gitmo so he could kind of attrit everybody else as quickly as possible.
All right, so
and frankly, that's not a reason to do this.
But the other thing that we need to address here is what's going on at the Pentagon with this investigation, because they're supposed to be independent, and your sources, and you've had good sources over the years, but they steered you wrong on the earlier part. They said it was done, that he was a deserter, and that it was going to be announced, and then suddenly that went away. So why did that? You know, we touched on this before, but why would the Pentagon be steered by the White House on this? Because they want to do the right thing, I would assume, by the rest of those soldiers who claim that he was a deserter. Doesn't everybody deserve the truth?
Everybody deserves the truth. And part of the problem, Martha, is the president himself tried to influence the investigation from day one. The moment he said, and his staff called Bo Bergdahl a hero, that influenced the investigation. So with that said now, I think everything else has happened since then. The Army's been trying to correct that and balance it. And what happened was the report says exactly what I said it does. I am confident completely that General Dahl found in his 15-6 report that he deserted. That's the conclusion. And the information we had at the time was that was going to be the announcement. The Bergdahl team thought, and I do believe they still think he's going to be charged. With that said, that's why there's this now kind of waiting time.
Yeah, well, they're working on a deal because they don't want to talk about it anymore. So if he gave them some information that was really valuable, and you say that they say that it was garbage, the information that he gave him, then that's going to allow everybody to sort of save face here. Is that what you think is going to happen?
I think that's what the intention is. I'd like to believe everybody in the chain of command on the Army side will do the right thing, stand up for what is appropriate.
Yeah, I think that would be their job and their mission.
We'll
see what happens. Colonel Schaefer, thank you very much.
Right.